This MO was designed to teach us defense gambits, but instead, I hope it's Arrowhead that learned something. The Galactic War isn't working. Try taking some accountability and stop blaming the devs. Well, boys, another major order failed and players are pissed, blaming Arrowhead, blaming each other, blaming Joel, or a ton of people just don't care at all. So who exactly is to blame? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but what I can definitely say right now is that the storyline of the Galactic War for the past 2 months has been a bit lacking and has had players feeling starved for content as well as frustrated with the current Galactic War. And in my opinion, this has everything to do with just the straight up current story as well as content release schedule. So during the last major order, players were given the option of completing the major order in one of two ways. Either defend 8 automaton attacks, and this part of the major order included new automaton units equipped with incendiary weapons, or kill 1.25 billion Terminids to activate another space weapon that will effectively just sit somewhere on the galactic map. Now, the problem with this is the majority of players are 100% going to choose fighting the new enemies and new content every single time because players have straight up just felt starved for content. The last huge content drop was back in December with Omens of Tyranny when the Illuminate dropped, melee weapons came to the game, vehicles dropped, and city maps came for the first time. And you might be thinking, wait a second. We actually have had more content since then, though. We've had the Predator strain come to the game, which was a mix of stalkers as well as Predator hunters that are just insane and can go invisible, and those were extremely fun and challenging. We've also had Gloom missions, which was another new variance of some of the enemies, as well as new remixes and new missions that people have been waiting for. And hey, we just fought the Incinerator Corps. They also just came to the game the last few days. On top of that, we had a Warbond last month in February, and we've had a Warbond this month. So how exactly are players starved for content? That doesn't make any sense. Well, out of all of the content I just named, the only content that is still currently in the game as of the recording of this video is the 2 war bonds. None of those enemies are available to play at this moment. Now, I will point out, we just finished the last major order against the firebots. They are unavailable right now, but given that, it's Monday now, for all I know, Arrowhead's coming back to the office, and maybe we're gonna fight some new enemies again. Maybe we're going back into the Gloom, or maybe they're gonna bring the firebots back since we did fail the major order against the firebots. But as of right now, all the new enemies are just straight up unavailable to play against. So let's just quickly take a look at the Steam charts so I can kind of narrate the past 2 months. I'm not trying to make some big point about player counts, it's just that we can kind of see where the excitement was, as well as the dates. So back here on February 4th, a small patch drops, but it was a good one. It buffed the gas guard dog, as well as lowered the cooldown on mines and did a couple of other things. Overall, a good patch. And then the Servants of Freedom Warbond was announced for the following Thursday, going into the weekend. It was also about to be the 1-year anniversary for Helldivers 2, so lots of players were excited. Almost 100k players logged in on Steam alone this weekend to play the new Warbond, try out the new patch, and show up to see what might happen on the anniversary of Helldivers 2. But once this patch dropped and going into the weekend, nothing new content-wise actually got added. There were no new enemies in the game yet. Those came a few days later, I think almost even a week later. But one thing worth noting was that the new enemies were all in the game files as of when the patch dropped, and all of the leakers were posting all of the different enemies, so players did know that something was coming, and players were seeing these leaks. So a few days after the weekend, nothing happens, but we see a spike in the player count, and this was when Angel's Venture got destroyed. Almost 100k people logged in again on Steam alone just to go see it. People were actually very excited and anticipating for something new to happen to the game. It's been about 2 months since the Illuminate had dropped, and that patch was absolutely massive. People are expecting something big since a planet is being wiped off the galactic map for the second time in Helldivers 2 history, and all of the Predator strain and Gloom enemy leaks have been making their ways around social media. People were excited for something new. Now, on the 13th of February, I wasn't streaming myself. I was watching other streamers on YouTube, and so many of these streamers had way more viewership than normal. Crazy Mr. Pips had about 2,000 live viewers. This is like 10x his average. And Cloud Plays, God bless him, had 11,000 live viewers. These are absolutely absurd numbers and just really shows the excitement and anticipation and how many eyes were watching this event go down. So Angel's Venture gets destroyed. We all see it on the galactic map. You can travel to the destroyed planet and see just crazy destruction in space. And with tens of thousands of people watching on YouTube or on just other social media, 100,000 players almost on Steam alone, online, waiting to see what happens next. So what happens? Literally nothing. Super Earth announces a 24-hour period of silence for those fallen on Angel's Venture. So we wait out the 24 hours, and then another 24 hours goes by until the next major order. And this is when the new enemies finally come into play. We have a new bug enemy faction called the Predator Strain. Juiced up invisible hunters, as well as a very common stalker, sort of mob kind of enemy, are attacking Fenrir. This is super exciting. And for 2 days, 2 whole days, we fight off the Predator Strain. We defended Fenrir on the first day. It was a defense mission. And then we defended the planet next to it on the second day. I believe it was Errata Prime. And it was awesome. They were fresh. They completely changed up the way the bugs played, and they were extra challenging, which players actually enjoyed. And what happened once we defended these 2 planets they were attacking? Well, they were just gone after that. Now, when they were gone, you know, I did want them to come back. However, I figured, like, this is fine. We're gonna see them again. Surely they will come back. But luckily, something even better happened. Just a few days later, we got gloom missions. After this giant cloud of spores has been sitting on the Terminid side of the galactic map for months, we finally got the equipment or filters for our helmet to go into the gloom. Now this introduced the city maps to the bug side, as well as heavy and mega nests with bile titan holes in them now, and again, juiced up spawns, which made the game fresh, challenging, exciting, and just brand new, fun to play again. It was a new patch, like, what, a week or 2 at this point ago? And we got new enemies, new content, city maps to fight on, and there were even remixed missions, and players have been asking for new mission types for a while now. So we ended up attacking Fori Prime. It was either a 5-day or a week-long major order. I don't remember exactly, but we ended up liberating Fori Prime in about 3 or 4 days, if my memory serves me, and we ended up finishing off the Gloom enemies. Great victory. The Helldivers beat the Predator Strain, and then they took the fight to the Gloom and won that as well. Our victory in these major orders was pretty sweet until we realized that the awesome new enemies were just now gone. But obviously they're coming back, right? Well, after the Predator Strain was gone on the 16th, they came the 15th and the 16th, and the Gloom enemies were gone somewhere around the 20th. I think the major order was completed on the 25th, but like I said, we liberated the planet a bit early. It was a full month where both of the new bug type enemies were just completely gone from the game. And we did an entire month of what honestly has felt like filler major orders up until March 15th, an entire month after the Predator bugs first showed up. They were now showing up again for one more major order. We got to fight the new enemies again. We fought them, finished, and they were gone again just a few days later. So the Predator Strain came back after a month, and it's worth noting we literally still, as of the posting of this video, have not seen the new glue enemies yet. Now, we did finish the glue major order technically on February 25th. So, you know, tomorrow's the 25th. Maybe they'll come back after a month. I don't know yet, but they have just been completely gone since then. Given that we just finished off the major order fighting the Incinerator Corpse, you know, Moradesh, another planet, was destroyed last week. Maybe we'll go into the gloom again, or maybe since we failed against the bots, we'll fight the bots again. But then we can see that there was another patch for Helldivers 2 and the major order where we fought the Incinerator Corpse, and lots of players have logged in again. But now that that major order is finished, they are gone again. And I am kind of scared. Are we gonna have to wait another month? Or maybe since we failed the major order, we're gonna fight them again in the next one? I'm not really sure. Honestly, that's my cope right now, is that since we failed the major order, we do get to fight them again very soon. So ultimately, I think my problem with it, as well as the players' problem with it, is this feels like drip-fed content, as well as just straight up FOMO content. I've had a decent amount of people in my streams who have said they have never got to fight the Predator strain either time because they were only here for 2 days at a time each. And what happened with this major order we just failed? Well, there was one planet that was a attack on the automaton, so it was like defense missions, and that's where the incinerator corpse was. But there was a dispatch on the planet attacking it to do a gambit, and there were no incinerator corpse there. And a bunch of players were saying to go do this gambit. There were even dispatches in the game saying, hey, we can win 2 planets in 1 if you do this gambit. But the problem is none of the new enemies were there, and everybody was going to fight the new enemies. And in general, players have been complaining about a lack of content the past 2 months, even though there are 3 factions of enemies that have gotten added to the game in the last 2 months. It's just that I think they've only been here for a combined total of 2 weeks out of the last 2 months. So I think the number one problem with the Galactic War right now and players' frustration with it is that it is not super captivating. The storyline really needs to tie in way more with the new content. Arrowhead shouldn't be taking it away and drip feeding content and only bringing them back every once a month for different story beats. Every single major order in between when the enemies were here feels like filler major orders, or at least that's what it feels like to me. Now, in my opinion, they should be drip feeding the marketing like they did with the 60-day plan trailers that people loved.
So basically, I'm hiding behind a rock. They blow their load all over me, and then I can move out of cover.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a walk of shame, but I think that's nice.
When they were dropping a trailer a day up until the 60-day plan, that got players very excited, and then the 60-day plan dropped and it had all of the weapon buffs in it. Technically that wasn't new content, but it kind of was because it completely changed how the game was played. So you drip feed your marketing, giving players little bits of info at a time, and when the patch finally comes, it needs to have all of the content in it on that same day, because that's when the most eyes are on your game. And the majority of players will come back when there's a new update. And if they play an update that satisfies them and they are satisfied with, you know, they might play it for just a few days, they might play it for a week, they might play it for 2 weeks. Inevitably, player counts will fall off after players play the new content. Then they will go play something else, you know, interest goes away. But since they were satisfied with that content drop, they will come back for the next one, and that's what a healthy player count really looks like. And what I'm honestly worried about is that players will inevitably end up losing interest if the major order storylines keep going this way. Because the reasoning for the content going away, from what I can tell, has to do with the story of the Galactic War. And every story beat that doesn't include the new enemies that came with the last patch isn't enough to keep interest. It just ends up feeling like filler. So let's quickly take a look at the player counts for Path of Exile. This is an ARPG. To be fair, it's nothing like Helldivers, but it is a live service game. And this is honestly an excellent example of a healthy player base. Now, this game has been out for over 10 years. I just pulled up the 6-year chart, because this is when it obviously started to gain a lot of attention. And you can see these giant peaks and valleys where we have like 100,000 players, 150,000 players at peaks, over 200,000 players at peaks, but every single time at the low end, it goes down to 20,000 players. Yet, every single time there's a new league, tons and tons of players come back. And you might be bewildered by this chart. Like, 1 month it's 200,000, the next month or two, it's 20,000. And it's quite simple. They drop new content all at once. It's all delivered to the player. Players come back and play it. They build up their character, and once they're done with their character, they go play something else until the next league. The Path of Exile developers have a formula where they drop satisfying content once every 3 to 4 months. They're not afraid to just give everything all at once, let their players play it, be satisfied with it, and move on until the next league or until the next content drop. And because players were satisfied the last time the league dropped, they come back for the next one. And Helldivers pretty much has done this for the past year. They've only really introduced and taken away these enemies, it seems like, in year 2. And personally, the way they're doing it right now is just not in a way that I like very much, because by the time I play the new enemies, work on loadouts for them, when I want to go post my Predator Strain or Incinerator Corpse loadout, the new enemies are now gone. And when you take away fun piece of content, it honestly just doesn't feel great. You end up having players complain about a lack of content, even though there were technically 3 new enemy factions the last 2 months. And to top it off, they drop a patch and the new content doesn't actually drop until 11 days later, and all of their new enemies ends up getting leaked before anyone even gets to play it. And in my opinion, the patch day, as well as events in the game, like planets being destroyed, should accompany whatever new content is planned. We shouldn't have a 24-hour, 48-hour moment of silence for the action to come later after all the eyes are off of the event. Anyways, that's it for the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.